I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to swim the 100 butterfly and how you can drop up to 10 seconds or more by following this exact technique. I'm actually gonna skip around here and get right to it. Point number 3 is all about race execution. So if you think about a 100 butterfly, we're gonna divide it into 4 25s. Now, if you're swimming a long course event, this applies the same thing. It's just a little bit different, but let's focus on short course for the scope of this explanation. So in the very first 25, it's all about easy speed. It's very, very easy in butterfly more than any other stroke to get excited and just go out too fast. Also, I have here in parentheses, don't forget to breathe. The 100 butterfly, similar to like the 200 IM and even the 200 butterfly, is one of those events that if you don't breathe appropriately, you will die and you will pay for it at the end. Now, you won't die literally, I hope not, but you know what I mean. You've been there and you've done that if you go out hard and you don't take a breath. So it's so important that you plan when and how often you're going to breathe in that first 25, and that will make a huge difference. Just knowing that even if you don't feel like you need to take a breath, you take the breath. That first 25 is so much more efficient and it sets you up well for the rest of the 100. Now, you should actually be building that first 25 into the turn. That's a little bit more of an advanced skill, but for those who are new, I just tell swimmers, first 25, chill, don't worry about it. Then you're gonna move into the second 25. Now you're really starting to think about building tempo. If you're swimming a long course 50, this actually breaks out really well, where the long course, the first 50, you're basically just building tempo the entire thing. It's even more important that you plan out those breaths, because in long course, you will die on the last 25 meters if you didn't plan it out in the beginning. But in short course, it's a little bit easier to plan that out, and you really wanna be building your tempo. The reason why this is important in the 100 butterfly is because if you go too much tempo or too little tempo, it's really hard to change gears. Some other strokes, you can actually change gears a little bit easier. Butterfly, you basically just decelerate and your tempo just gets slower over the course of swimming it. So you have to be mentally thinking about building tempo over the course of that first 50, especially on that second 25. Now, when you get into the third 25, you should really be at your max effort here. You are really trying to put together a perfect second 50, which means you are consistent with power and tempo. So the very beginning is easy speed, you build up tempo, you maintain that tempo and power on the third 25 in order to come home by holding that tempo and, most importantly, maintaining your body position. This is where swimmers make it or break it. They start breathing too much, you start going up and down, you completely lose your body position, and if you lose your body position and your legs start to sink, you will slow down to a snail's pace into the finish, and it can make such a dramatic difference in those last 5 or 10 meters. Even last stroke, look at the 100 butterfly when Michael Phelps won by 100th of a second. He did it by maintaining his tempo and body position all the way through. In fact, he was actually getting slower into the wall, but all the other swimmers were just getting slower more quickly, and you could visually see it, and it looked like Michael Phelps was going faster and faster into the finish. Anyway, that's an overview of how you should execute the race. Now, I skipped over a lot of really important things that I'm gonna talk about in this video, including technique and breathing pattern, and at the end of the video, I'm actually gonna walk through a workout that you can follow. It's in the MySwimPro app, but not only that, how you can apply these concepts to your own training so that you can swim the 100 butterfly, or maybe the 200 butterfly, or maybe the 200 IM, whatever event it is, you can apply these concepts to your own training so that you can swim faster and smarter than ever before. So that was a long intro, but I wanted to go right into that bullet point around race execution, because you have to have that context for all the other stuff that we're going to talk about. Now, I skipped over the first two. Let's go back and talk about them. Number 1 is technique. So there's like 2 rules in butterfly technique, okay? Number 1 is to improve your efficiency. It's all about improving efficiency. And then rule number 2 is remember rule number 1. So the most important thing that you can do, more than like training or anything like that, is think about your stroke efficiency. Because butterfly, unlike all the other strokes, you get slower the fastest by swimming butterfly. If you ask any swimmer, can you swim 1,000 butterfly? Some swimmers can do it, but most swimmers will say, no, I'll probably die fly. You really can't say that for all the other strokes. You can probably swim 1,000 breaststroke, that would be painful. You can probably swim 1,000 freestyle. You can probably swim 1,000 backstroke, but you really can't and maybe don't want to swim 1,000 butterfly. And that's because as you swim, your technique starts to break down, you lose efficiency, your legs start to drag, and it takes a lot of energy just to make any progress. And that's why technique is actually the most important and fastest way to make the biggest time gains, especially on the second half of the 100. So when we're talking about the 100 butterfly, I broke apart by 25. That technique falls apart on the third and fourth 25. So if you can maintain that efficiency and improve your technique, but maybe not even improve, just hold it together on that second 50, that third and fourth 25, it's gonna pay huge dividends. Now there's a lot of drills and we're gonna talk about them that you can do to improve your technique, but you gotta just understand conceptually that you want to have good technique, especially for the second half, and you want to hold it together. Now, holding it together is half mental, half training. We're going to talk about the training in a little bit. In terms of execution, we got to talk about breath control and your breathing patterns, how you actually execute. So when it comes to breathing pattern, we're talking about the 100. In the 100 and the 200, you should be breathing every 1 or 2 strokes. Every 1 or 2 strokes. The best swimmers in the world are doing that. You are not any different than them in terms of you can't go 5 strokes and not take a breath, right? It might work for a 25 or a 50 where you don't take any breath, or you plan it out. So if you're racing a 50, maybe it's a 50 long course, and you're gonna breathe every 5 strokes. That might work for you. And maybe you end up taking 7 strokes or 7 breaths over the course of a 50 long course. Or in a 50 in short course, you might end up taking 2 breaths on the way down, 2 breaths on the way back. As long as you plan it out, that's what works. But we're talking about the 100 here. So you do wanna plan out every stroke or every 2 strokes when you're taking your breath. If you're a more elite swimmer, you might not need to take as many breaths because you can breathe on the turn. So if you think about this first 25, it's easy speed. Don't forget to breathe. A lot of the best swimmers in the world might only take 1 breath on that first 25. So they are breaking this rule, but they are the best swimmers in the world. So if you're one of them, shout out, what's up? But for most people watching this, you're probably gonna end up breathing every 1 or 2 strokes. So that's an important thing to remember. Now, before I talk about the underwaters and how to train smarter and not harder, I wanna thank today's video sponsor, Underwater Audio. I gave their brand new SwimBuds bone conduction music player and headphones a test drive, and they are a game changer. It's their first open ear music player to leverage bone conduction technology to give you a great listening experience even while you're swimming. It's fully waterproof and doesn't have any extra wires that could get tangled in your goggles or hair. Just fit the strap on your head and you're ready to go. The music player has 8 gig of storage, which is enough for about 2,000 songs. To load up your music, just drag and drop your favorite tunes from your computer onto the device. There are 3 buttons on the player, so it's really easy to use. You skip, pause, play, and shuffle your music while you're in the water. Now, I've tested out a few different underwater audio music players, and this is the best one yet. The sound quality is amazing. So if you want to give the SwimBuds bone conduction headphones a try yourself, you can save 15% with the code MySwimPro. We'll put a link down below in the description for you guys. Thanks again to Underwater Audio for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Underwaters are considered the 5th stroke in swimming. Sure, we have butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle, but we actually have the underwater dolphin kick. And it's so important because you can actually swim faster underwater than you can above the water. And that's why they have a 15-meter rule that was added about 30, 40 years ago to prevent swimmers from going further. That's how powerful this is. Now, it's really important to push this in training. You have to train. We'll talk about training and the different ways that you can actually train your dolphin kick, but it's really important that you have the mindset that if you want to be able to do this in your race execution on the first, second, third, and fourth 25, you have to get it done in training or else it's not gonna work. You can't just see Caleb Dressel go 15 meters underwater off the wall and think he does that in a competition and he never does it in practice. Every time he pushes off the wall, every time he's going fast, you gotta push the 15-meter mark. Now that's assuming you're at that level. Maybe for you, it means taking 2 dolphin kicks off every single wall. Maybe 3 dolphin kicks, 4 dolphin kicks. You're trying to hit 10 meters off the wall. You're trying to increase your distance gradually, but the most important thing is actually being consistent, doing it in training every single day, every single set, every single rep, every time you push off the wall. We're going to talk about how you train in different planes of motion here on the drill set. That's coming up shortly. Now, number 5 is to train smarter and not harder. There's a big difference between short axis and long axis strokes. So long axis means you have rotation along the spine, along the long end axis, and that's freestyle and backstroke. Short axis is butterfly and breaststroke. Now, these two strokes need to be trained a little bit differently because you're pivoting through your hip. You actually have a lot more resistance. It's more inefficient, and that means you have to train at speed, so you teach your body how to swim in a higher body position. If you don't, you're basically going to train your body to swim slow, and that's no fun. Additionally, you want to think about breaking up your training. That means instead of doing continuous 100 butterflies or 200 butterflies, you're going to break it up. You're going to break it up by distance. You might do 50s, you might do 25s, you might alternate butterfly and freestyle. You might mix it in the IM, you might remove the butterfly and train other strokes. It also could mean breaking it up by doing drills, kicking, using equipment, mixing in freestyle, I already mentioned that. And so it's really important that you take this holistic approach to butterfly, where you're doing not just singular butterfly, but you're training all the different elements and breaking it apart, so that way it's more manageable and you can train those specific pieces, whether it's the pull, the kick, the underwaters, you can train them with more intensity and also more intention. So let's talk about this workout here, and we can apply some of the skills that I talked about in your own training. Now, this workout here I'm showing on the screen as well is on my phone. It's in the MySwimPro app, and the intervals are all designed for me. Now, these are dynamically created, so if you think I'm slow or fast, you know, these intervals, if you look at a workout in the MySwimPro app, they are tailored to your speed based on how fast you are. So keep that in mind when looking at this, and we can of course adjust everything, and that's really good. And all the effort levels are also defined as well. So let's kick it off. It's a 2,500 meter workout. I'll show you how to expand it, make it longer or shorter. We have a 300 freestyle, nice and easy. That's on the 5 minute, just stretching things up. Second part of the warm up is 825s kick. Now this is where we're actually going to kick in the different planes of motion. So it's 825s. We have 4 planes of motion. So we're going to go 2 rounds of 25 kick on your stomach, 25 on your right, 25 on your back, and 25 on your left side. It's really important that you train your body in these different planes of motion, so that way you build a better feel of the water through your core and through your torso. Not only that, but you got to remember we have gravity, and there's different resistance based on the way your body is positioned in the water. So some people feel like it's actually a lot faster to kick dolphin on your back, and that's because you have gravity helping you on the down kick, which is where you kick with your hamstrings and your glutes and your lower back. And that's why you can kick faster on your back rather than on your stomach. So important to keep that in mind. Those are 825s on the 45. Then we're going to go 425s drill. We're doing butterfly drill. We're just going to mix in some single arm butterfly. Again, we're breaking up into different components, and that's a really good way to warm up butterfly. Next up, we've got the main set. It's 2 rounds. Again, we're breaking it up. We're gonna go 850s, butterfly on the first 25, freestyle on the second 25. I wanna descend 1 through 4 and 5 through 8, get a little bit of speed going. Then we're gonna go a 200 pull, get the aerobic up, and after the 200 pull with paddles, we're gonna go 825s butterfly at race pace. These are on the 30. This is sort of like US RPT, ultra short race pace training. And by doing this, what we're actually doing is we're training our body how to swim at that 100 pace. Remember these 425s? We're actually gonna do 8 of those. But what we're really targeting is 25, number 3, and number 4. Because the first 25 is gonna feel easy. We're really targeting number 3 and number 4 because that is where we wanna hold consistent our power and our tempo. Remember, that is the most important thing. It's making sure we don't fall apart on the second half of the event. After that, we're gonna repeat because we're going 2 rounds of the main set. And then finally, we have 650s freestyle silent. That's our cool down. Those are on the 55. That is a 2,500 meter workout. It's 60 minutes to complete, or a little bit less than that. And you can scale up or down this workout pretty easy by increasing or decreasing the number of times you do the main set. You can increase the number of 25s from 8 to 12 to 16. If you want to go true US RPT, you would do 16 25s on the 30 rather than 8. This is kind of like half, and we only do it 2 rounds, so it becomes 16 if you think about it that way. Either way, focus on swimming with with speed. And if you apply these concepts that I talk about in the video in terms of how you actually execute the race, I guarantee your 100 butterfly is gonna go faster. Let me know down below what questions you guys have. I'm actually gonna take the top questions from our videos and I'm gonna answer them on my second channel, the MySwimPro community. So if you're not already subscribed there, make sure you subscribe. First link down below, and we're gonna be answering those questions in video format, so maybe I'll answer your question. If you guys thought this video was great, you're gonna love how to swim butterfly with perfect technique. I hope you guys check it out. Happy swimming, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.